and that's a lot of damage. So I just said the meme. Hey guys, what's going on? Roundy TikTak here, and today we're going to be talking about the Lynx. You guys been asking for this video for a little bit. Finally got around to making it. We're going to be talking about exactly how good it is, if you should level it up, perk it or pass it. We're going to look at the numbers, the DPS values it has, if it's useful on any character in the game for generalized usage, and if you need a very specific build to get the best bang for your buck. Lastly, is there another gun in the game that does what this thing can do, but 10 times better? We're also going to be talking about the feeling of a weapon, as in how good does it feel to actually use. Regardless of the numbers behind the gun, sometimes they just feel terrible. If you have a 4-second reload on an assault rifle, you're going to not really feel like you're getting a lot of efficiency for your weapon. So we're going to take all of that into account, and we're going to break down the Lynx right now. So first up, let's take a look at a 106 Shadow Shard Lynx. Originally in my top 10 quick breakdown of the military weapons, that video's doing really well, by the way, thank you. I said perk it up. Now, you need a specific playstyle to enjoy this weapon because it has a super slow firing rate at 5.54. It's not going to be for everyone. Not everyone's going to enjoy this weapon. We're going to talk about a build in a little bit that makes this weapon really, really good and very, very powerful, but you need to run a specific build. The one that I do have is a 1 crit rating, double crit damage. It's not this one, it's the one that I use to film. And it does hit very hard, averaging out at about 100,000 damage per shot. It's a 3-round burst weapon, so startup and mad tidings does work here because you end up with a 30-round magazine. You really have 90 bullets. That's how the game calculates that. Its reload time is also kind of long at 2.6 seconds. That's not crazy long, but it's still pretty long. Again, if we're talking about the feel of a weapon, this is where this gun really falls off pretty hard. Crit chance at 10% with no crit rating, 50% with no crit damage. This weapon does a decent job. Now, a lot of people do not have the bundle bus. The bundle bus is one of the rarer weapons in the game, and it's known for being the best mist monster killer in the game. And although the Rat King does a very nice job of replicating what the bundle bus can do, so does the Lynx. The Lynx is never going to be a general purpose gun. It does very, very poorly against large groups of enemies, all the little small husks and things like that. It is a single target damage gun, but where it has issues is the fire rate is so slow that the DPS value of the gun isn't that high. And even though you're using it as a mist monster killer, you're still not going to use it for the bigger targets like smashers. You're always going to switch to something else. The range of the gun is 4,096, which is decent for an assault rifle. It's not as high as it can go, but it's up there. And it is very, very, very accurate. It is a super accurate gun. It has a very good headshot multiplier, and running this double headshot damage is not a terrible thing to do, especially with the original perk of getting 5 headshots in a row. So if you were to run it double headshot damage, you'd be at 40, 80, and then plus another 30%. That's a lot of extra damage for what this gun does, because like I said, it is super accurate. But let's take a look at the DPS values first before we get into the actual feel of the gun. So if we take a look here, we have the Lynx, like I said, had it run. We have a crit rating, magazine size, crit damage, and then we have another weapon down here called the Razor Blade. This is an original weapon that came with the game, and before all of these patches came out and the game was at its base a year and a half ago, this was one of the best weapons in the game. And surprisingly enough, because it's a pulse weapon and there's only about 3 or 4 pulse weapons in the game, it really hasn't been power creeped. On this one we have crit rating, mag size, energy, crit damage, and a condition, the condition being slowed and snared, snare, affliction, etc. We can take a look at the damage per shot. 32,000 at a 70-30 split of headshot accuracy. 32,000 damage per shot. This includes crit rating into the DPS values. So your random RNG based, it takes an average of the crit rating, crit damage. The Razor Blade is 24,000 damage per shot. So it beats it there. Now, this one, we're not going to look at this column, but please know that the Razor Blade does beat it. Damage per second with a reload, so that shoots the entire magazine. You press the reload button. After that animation ends, that's the time frame of this damage number. We're looking with crit rating and crit damage into the build, 119,000 damage per second. Not that great. It's really actually on the lower end of the spectrum, especially for assault rifles. If we take a look at the Razor Blade, it crushes it at 136,000 damage per second. So you're looking at 20,000 damage more per second. And now, again, like I said, you're not going to use this to kill a smasher, because even at a player level 100, a 7-second kill time is pretty ridiculously long. Compare that to the Razor Blade at 5.6. You're looking at a lot better DPS values and time to kill values with a gun that's been in the game since literally day one. Now, these are the numbers. It loses out to the Razor Blade. There's only two other burst weapons that I can think of, minus the bundle bus, which is the Pulsar and the Deathstalker. One has a scope and one gets absolutely decimated. Its numbers aren't even close to either one of these, and that's the Pulsar. Although I love the gun, it's just not even comparable. So we have these two weapons. You can use a specific build, and that's what we're going to talk about in a second, to make the Lynx absolutely destroy the Razor Blade, because what ends up happening is you fix the fire rate perk and end up doing a lot of damage. On crits, it usually hits for about 110,000 damage per shot. At 3 shots, you're looking at 330,000 damage per trigger press. So yeah, we're gonna look into the build first, and then we're going to show you exactly why it falls off using any other character in the game. So we're gonna look at this kind of build here. Now remember, it's not going to be your all-purpose assault rifle. If you do not have a dedicated mist monster killer, this is something you might want to look into. This is the build I suggest. Is it the absolute best? No, I don't have the spreadsheet or the math behind every single weapon in the game yet, because of all of the hero reworks, or I have the math behind the weapons. I don't have the added calculations of the heroes. But this is what makes the gun feel really, really, really good. Personally, I think you should put reload speed on the Lynx, but we'll talk about that in just a second. So we're going to be using Skull Ranger Ramirez. You can get this hero from the collection book right now, just the guy version of her. Locked and reloaded. After reloading, increases weapon damage by 15% and fire rate by 35%. That's the kicker there. So instead of having a 5.5 fire rate, you are now looking at like a 7 or 8 fire rate, which is much, much better. You can hear it very clearly when you're using this character after a reload. I usually use Hunter's Instinct for the defenses, but specifically for this weapon, you're trying to do as much damage as you can from the get-go. So Preemptive Strike does work pretty well here. We're going to use In a Pinch because the reload speed is somewhat long. I definitely think you should roll the weapon with crit rating, reload, crit damage, because you're using it on this specific character. Since you only get that 5-second extra bonus and fire rate, the goal is to empty the clip within those 5 seconds. And with this build, you're going to be having 3 to 6 bullets left before you actually finish up the clip. So it works quite nicely together. Again, Startup and Mad Tidings, both of these work quite well here because instead of actually only having 30 bullets, you have 90. If we add in Assault Ammo Recovery, you're also getting an extra like 16 bullets, which really helps out in the long run. Lastly, we're going to do Assault Crit Damage. If you're running your Lynx with double crit damage, there's no reason to bring this. The reason that we do not have Assault base damage in here from Havoc is because we did the math and Mad Tidings gives you a tiny little bit more damage than the base 17%. How the math works on that is once you get to 50 bullets or 25 bullets, you're actually doing more damage on the back end than you are with 17% extra assault rifle damage for the entire clip. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, this is the build I suggest. If you run this, if you choose to run something like this, the gun shines. It does really, really well. 2-3 shotting in a full group of a blaster at level like 170. It does a lot of damage. There's also another build that has a use, but it's not as good. You can change this hero for Rio and get your first 6 shots to crit. That'll usually hit for like 650,000 damage, those first 6 shots. And 9 out of 10 will kill anything you're shooting at besides like a smasher. Alright, so we went over everything about the weapon. Let's talk about the bad parts about it. If you plan on using this weapon for anything besides 2 niche uses, or you stick to that particular build, you're not gonna really enjoy using this weapon. The fire rate on it is so abysmally low that anything else will give you a better DPS increase. You can see in this gameplay with the constructor that it really doesn't do that much damage. It takes a lot of work and effort to make sure you hit your shots instead of just doing a lot more damage with any other gun in the game. But if you happen to like pulse weapons or burst weapons, you can definitely pick up the Razor Blade and get a ton of better results using any other character you may want to. The Razor Blade doesn't require you to stick to an individual hero. You can play it on any other character. The DPS values on the Razor Blade are much better. The reload time is much better, allowing the feel for the weapon to just be a lot more concise and clear and not as clunky. It's really not worth picking up and leveling up unless 2 of these tick marks are checked. Do you need a burst firing weapon that can kill specifically blasters? If the answer is yes, then maybe level up the Lynx. Or do you really enjoy playing Skull Ranger Ramirez? If that is the case, then yes, pick up the Lynx. But like I said, the Razor Blade in general is a much better weapon, feels a lot better, and does a lot more damage. So if you like burst weapons and you want to play with one, definitely check out the Razor Blade and keep the Lynx on the side. If you happen to need a mist monster killer, then the Lynx is definitely something you might want to check out. But that is your full breakdown of the Lynx, every which way you could spin it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to support the channel, or if you're new, feel free to subscribe. I post videos like this about 4 times a week, full breakdowns and trap tunnel guides. If you want to support the channel, you can use my creator code if you happen to be buying V-Bucks TIKTAK 00. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, you are awesome. If you want to check out live updates, I stream on Twitch about 5 times a week at twitch.tv/roundedtiktak. We'd love to have you there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. TikTak out.